Welcome back to another edition of Coding with Pegasus, Python, Django, and all that good stuff. This is Corey, and today I want to try and build a chat UI for the bot that I was working on last time. So I had this kind of incredible experience where I just pasted this prompt into GPT-4, asking it to build the HTML for a web-based chat UI with Tailwind. And it spat out this thing, and I copied and pasted it into a Django template, and boom. So this is going to be my starting point. None of this works, but I grabbed that text, I stuck it in into my Django app, and now I'm going to try and hook this up to the backend. So let's dive in. So this is the URL that I've added for the view. You can see here it's not doing anything except going to this Django template. And this Django template, I had to override the kind of the main UI setup because for chat UIs, I couldn't figure out how to make this sort of take up the remaining height. So I wanted to get rid of the top navigation bar here. Otherwise, the height was kind of funny. So I overrode the template. I got rid of the top navigation, put the side navigation back in, and then in this sort of full height components, I just pasted the chat UI thing that I got out of ChatGPT. And I'm going to try to use HTMX to make this an interactive UI. So the first thing I'm going to do, I suppose, is figure out how to get it so that a message that I type in here, when I press send, kind of goes to the back end and gets stuck in this chat box, I guess, where our messages are going. Okay, so what's that going to look like? So I'm going to try to use this out-of-band responses documentation from the HTMX documentation about updating other content. And so what I basically want to do is I want to have my form, in this example it's here, submit a post to my Django backend, and then the Django backend will return essentially a message div that has this type of HTML in it. And then that will get swapped into my chat history using this before end syntax. So the first thing I'm going to do is stick this hx post onto my form. So post, and we'll use the URL. We'll create a new URL maybe for, let's see, chat, new message, I don't know, new chat. So why don't we just build this view while we're at it. So that created at the bottom, I'll stick it kind of next to the chat view for now. That's going to need a team, string, and let's see, for now, we'll return a chat. This like HTMX convention chat message from user, let's call it. And we'll create that. Actually, maybe I'll make it in a components folder. Let's see, what do I have in this components folder? Okay, yeah, I already have that thing, so I'll just create a new thing like that. And for now, I will not bother passing that information through, but I'll just kind of copy paste the URL, sorry, the code of this thing, which is that message, that green message we were looking at, and we'll say like, this one came from the server. Whoop. Okay. So that should be our view. We can test that if we want to just see if it's working. Why don't we just take a quick peek at that by sticking it in the URL here. Okay, that looks like it's working. So now we will stick that URL there. We also need to pass our team through. And cool. So I'm going to refresh this. What I expect to happen here is this form to get replaced by that message, which it did. So that looks like it's working. And now we'll go back to our HTMX docs and do this hx-swap out of bounds thing. So we'll say, in your response, you include some additional contents. Okay. So actually, we want to return kind of like a full thing. So I'm going to make another template. And we'll call that HTMX chat response HTML. Don't want any of that thing. So what we do want is we want to include the form. Also, we want to include this thing, I suppose. We'll clean this up afterwards, but for now we'll just add this hx-swap out of bounds. The ID for that needs to be the message list. And then we also want to put the form back in as we've kind of defined it. So let's refactor this. Include Slack components, chats, and submit input bar. That's what ChatGPT wants to call it. So then we'll make this template and the folder. I don't know. Whoops. It's got a funny file extension. I don't know exactly the file structure I want to go for yet, so I'm not too stressed about that. So now we want to grab this thing and stick that in there. That looks good. Whoops. And let's see. Let's maybe put the form outside the div so that when it's submitted, it can put itself back in there. And in this chat message from user, now we're going to also include that input bar. Okay, we'll see if I did that correctly. All right, that looks like I messed up some styling, but yeah, I mean, the concept is there, even if the execution is lacking a little bit. So let's try to figure out why that's doing that. So the first thing I'll do maybe is inspect this HTML to kind of see what's happening. I'm interested in maybe grabbing this jobby, and so it looks like that kind of got inserted into the form. I see. It's because it's not wrapping its outer self. So there's a hx post. There's like an hx replace or something. Just need to figure out the syntax for this. I think it's probably in this one. Yeah, hx-swap-outer HTML. So I think it was replacing the inner HTML instead of the outer HTML. So let's try that. Maybe I'll put these on new lines to clean it up a little bit. Close that. Yeah. I mean, better. Still not kind of going. Okay, so it's going in. It's going after the message list instead of kind of in the message list. Why is it doing that? Chat message from user. Oh. I think because I forgot to, I lost the out of bounds thingy. So let's go back there. Not sure how I lost that, but. And that was, so I'm just going to make this lowercase. It's bugging me a little bit. Okay. Nice. That looks pretty good. The styling got messed up. I suppose we'll try to fix that. So let's look what's happening here. So what happened is when it was the form, it worked. So we swapped these two things. So probably we need kind of like a form. Let's see. So the input bar, yeah, we want the form to have this stuff. And then we want the div inside it to have this stuff. Let's see if that works. Yeah. Hello. All right. So far, so good. So, I'm not sure why this one's full width and the other one isn't, but I'll cross that bridge when we get there. So first, let's just pass this through, so that instead of having the same text here, we'll capture that. So we can the first thing we can do is we can add a require post. Why not? Since we'll always expect this to be a post. And then we can say message text equals request dot post. And what is the name of that? Text message. Let's see. Label. What is the actual name of this thing? Name equals message. And we will print request.post just because I might have gotten that wrong. And then we'll pass it forward here. Message text. And here now, we'll make this message text. Okay. So, did that work? Let's refresh. Hello there. I am typing. All right. So far, so good. Next, I suppose we want to get the bot's response and stick that in there. So if you didn't watch the last video, the way this works is there are these indexes that get built on our chats. The indexes have enough information to kind of get the database out and run a query against the database and then generate an automatic response from the chatbot. And so in this message thing, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get that database, which is this get index for team function. Index for team. So this will return, we can look at this. It'll just, if it finds one of these zip indexes based off our documentation, it'll return that. Otherwise, it'll return the Slack index. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It's not too important, but you can watch the last video to see. And now with this index, we can essentially, so I'm just going to find where I did this because I already built this for the chatbot, and that's not the right place. It's probably here. Yeah, so index get query response is the function that will do that. So now back in our views, we can say if index answer equals index.get query response message text, and then now we'll also pass that answer back. And let's just print out the answer to make sure that's working properly. So I'm going to refresh again. What did I do? Oh. Okay, so now I'll ask a question. Now I'll ask it a real question like, how do I use Teams? I don't know. So this is taking a little bit longer. Maybe I'll bring up the network tab to make sure that I can see if it's actually doing something. Okay, it crashed. Get index for team missing one required positional argument. It certainly is. I'm not going to worry too much about sort of loading indicators and error messages and all that. One day we will add them. That's failed again. Was it just reloading? Yes, it was. Okay, so that one did it. It's doing its chatbot stuff, so this is a little bit slow, and then it's got the answer. And it looks like it got the answer, so that's great. And now we just need to stick that answer into here. And so again, we will copy and paste from our chat UI. And we're going to get a system message this time. Stick it below our question. Ideally, you could instantly show the user their message and wait and show the system message. Maybe we'll add that as a nice to have. That's now. We'll just stick the answer in there. And let's see here. So now, I guess one tricky thing is, I don't know what order these are going to come in. There's a car alarm going off now, that's great. But we'll find out. I don't know if you're allowed to do this double swap OOB thing, but let's just try this again. How do I use Teams? Ready, set, go. And it's how about that? Pretty cool. So, yeah. Now I guess there's just a little bit of cleanup to do. We can let's see, we can get rid of those initial placeholders. Let's do that. Maybe we will. So the initial message will say like, hello, please, you can ask me anything you want about the documentation. I don't know. Figure out what to stick there. Okay, how do I use Teams? Dope. I don't know. That's Google Analytics ad block something. Yeah, okay. Well, that went a lot faster than I expected. I guess that's a good place to wrap up. So yeah, a little bit of HTMX, a little bit further along this chatbot journey, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.